Hey, it's Chris Barnes. Welcome back to another episode of Read, Watch, Listen, East Brunswick Public Library's podcast, where we ask people in the community what they're reading, watching, and listening. Today, we have a very special guest, one of my dear coworkers, Amelia Grant. Amelia, thank you for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Amelia does a little bit of everything here at the library. So what exactly is your position?
I am the library health associate. I work in the Just for the Health of It information department. I help plan programming. You might find me at the information desk. If I'm not there, then I'm probably hiding in the back on phone call, planning a program. Check out our health stuff. JustForTheHealthOfIt.org.
Great. Okay, so let's get what everybody came for. We want to know what you've been enjoying media-wise. So let's start with a read. Amelia, what have you read recently that you really liked, you didn't like?
Okay, so right now I'm reading Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. Hopefully I said that correctly. I'm on a weird YA kick right now because I read They Both Die in the End by Adam Silvera. And I was like, oh, wow, YA is great. And so I'm back at it again with the YA stuff. I just finished More Happy Than Not. I just read They Both Die at the End. Spoiler alert, they do both die at the end, but boy, howdy, is it a ride. Yeah, so that's what I've been reading.
So a lot of young adult fiction. Now, what else? Is there any nonfiction that you've been reading?
Recently, I think the last nonfiction book I read was Beautiful Country. That's by Wang, which was top notch. It's about a woman who migrates to the United States as a child. They call it Beautiful Country because United States in Cantonese is beautiful country. It's heartbreaking. It's horrible. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend.
That does sound interesting. Okay, so next is the watch part. What have you been watching?
I have been watching She-Hulk and Ring of Power.
Why have you liked the She-Hulk show?
Oh, because, well, one, I like She-Hulk as a character. I like what they did with it. I'm a little upset with how obviously CGI it is, but that's the Hulk in all the MCU universe.
But I think that's the thing. I mean, how many 8-foot-tall, super-powered green people can you find in your everyday?
I mean, it's pretty hard. It's relatively difficult.
I've worked in a public library for almost 20 years, and I've never seen a green person in here. So I can only imagine how difficult it would be for casting directors.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great show. I'm really enjoying. I'm liking that they're taking it for what it is. They're not trying to be anything they're not. It's very like, hey, this is a show about women and it's for women and it's about women. And as a woman, I appreciate that. I'm enjoying that it's a shorter show, like per episode. I believe it's 30 minutes. And I don't have the time these days to watch something long. When I watch Ring of Power, I usually watch it in 2 segments because I just don't have time to watch a long show. And every show now is for some reason an hour long. And that's why I haven't watched any other TV except for Law and Order SVU, She-Hulk, and forcing myself to watch Ring of Power because I love Lord of the Rings and I just reread the books.
So how faithful an adaptation is it to the original source?
Which one?
Let's go with the Tolkien.
So it's not based off of any specific book. It's not like, oh, this is from right before The Hobbit or right before Lord of the Rings or right before The Silmarillion. It's way, 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 way back. So I feel like because of that, Amazon has all these liberties to go crazy with characters because these are not characters that really exist. And yeah.
So it's kind of like Lord of the Rings adjacent.
Yeah. It's
Gotcha.
like, oh, did you like the concept of this stuff in Lord of the Rings? Did you like dwarves? And do you like elves? And do you like the fact that humans suck? Well, check out this world where humans still suck, elves are still hot, and hobbits are perfect.
Well, you just sold me on it.
My favorite part is just them showing us pre-Hobbit, which is a really great time. I think they're very cute, and I like how they still live in a hole, kind of say they live within the ground. And I like how they're all a mess because hobbits are a mess, and that's how they should be.
No further questions on that one. Okay, now the last thing is, what have you been listening to? I know you were singing some K-pop jams on the way into the studio today, so.
I am what they call a once. I am a part of a fan group for the K-pop girl group Twice. And they recently dropped a new album. And when I say recently, I mean like a month ago, but it's still new to me. So I've been listening to Twice, Talk That Talk on repeat. I listen to Itzy. I listen to the podcast My Favorite Murder, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's just two women talking about their favorite murders for the week. And yeah, I like murder. I like murder a lot.
I think through the pandemic, whether it's on podcast or the true crime documentaries that are on every streaming platform, it seems that true crime is where it's at in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, during the pandemic, I ate up every true crime doc I could find easily on streaming services. And I started reading on things, and I would just be in the shower blasting My Favorite Murder. And my husband would knock on the door and be like, "What just happened?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, they found his body in the lake, but they couldn't figure out how it got there. There were no footprints." And he's like, "Well, did they figure it out?" And I'm like, "That's what I'm trying to figure out myself." And then he's like, "Well, what about the person who got their head cut off?" I'm like, "Oh, he cut off other people's heads."
Can I throw out a shameless plug while we're at it?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have an East Brunswick Public Library card, if you go to canopy.com, that is our streaming video service. There are a ton of true crime documentaries and miniseries that you can watch. So hit that up. You can get a free account with your library card. So if you're looking for more true crime to watch and scare yourself, that's where to go.
Also on Libby, which is also available with your East Brunswick Library card, log into Libby or the Overdrive app. They have the audiobook, still plugging the My Favorite Murder ladies. They have their book as an audiobook, and it's read by the same ladies. On Libby, it's called Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered. It's absolutely fabulous, the audiobook. I have listened to a lot of audiobooks on Libby and on Hoopla, which is also available with your East Brunswick Public Library card. And that was a really well done audiobook. And I don't know if it's because they're podcast ladies and they just know how to do that. But that one and the Daisy Jones and the Six audiobook on Libby, just 10 out of 10 audiobook stuff.
I think that's the most positive feedback ever about true crime and murder anyone has ever recorded on our library podcast network. So this is definitely a groundbreaking one for those who are keeping score at home. Amelia, thanks again for stopping on our show today. Again, all these are going to be in the liner notes. Our wonderful producer, Melissa Hosick, will be adding those to shout out to her, as always, for recording our show. You can check out all of our other various podcasts online at ebpl.org/podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the library.
Goodbye.